Hello people, this is Mark from Kharischangeworks. Guys, I hope that you are well. Listen to this one. Do a good deed and throw it in the river. One day it will come back to you in the desert. What does that mean? Well, I will tell you my understanding. Rivers, water, that kind of thing talks about life, talks about freshness, talks about life-giving properties, if I can put it that way. It talks about cleanliness, it talks about things that water does. So when you do a good deed and you put it in the water, the river, that thing that's constantly moving where life is and freshness is and healing to many things, as far as when you drink water, you might get rid of a headache. Your muscles that normally cramp when you dry and dehydrated, that will bring healing. As far as your bones and your movements of the bones are concerned, water is the way to go about it in order to try and alleviate that kind of pain and discomfort. So water talks about life. So when you're doing a good deed and you put it into the vessel of life and healing, that kind of thing, a positive thing, where there's abundance, then you might forget about it. From my understanding is the world has a memory. The universe, God, life, it has memory. So whatever you say or whatever you don't say is permeated into the atmosphere, and it's written in the unseen book where memories are kept. Now, you do something from a place of abundance. You're doing this from a place of goodness. You're doing things from a place of wanting to show healing. You put that in the water. Let the river take it. As life has its ebbs and its flows, there will come a time where you yourself are in need of life, healing, peace, cleanliness, whatever the case might be. But because your motive is recognized by the atmosphere, the universe, because your motive is clearly understood by God and the spiritual atmosphere, the motive of your good deed is recognized. When you are in that desert, now the desert is, as we know, is the exact opposite of life. It talks about barrenness and dry and heat. I would even go as far as to say death, starvation. Everything that is the exact opposite to the river is found in the desert. Now, because your motive of the good deed is understood by the elements, shall we say, when you are in that place of need, that same good deed comes and visits you, and it brings about a blessing for you that you might not necessarily expect, because chances are you forgot about your good deed which you did X amount of years ago. But the universe does not forget. God does not forget. That book where things are written in that no one sees, those pages are never torn out. There is no correction fluid needed for that book, because everything that gets written in that book stays put. It doesn't move. Now you can turn around and say to me, Mark, that nearly sounds like karma. And I would suggest that the answer to that statement is, yes, it probably is. It's a law of nature. Sowing and reaping. It's a law. It's like a boomerang. You can throw it and it eventually comes back. So here is how I understand that statement. When things are going well, when things are in flush, when things are going positive for you, do your good deeds. Help, support, encourage. Be there. Whatever you define as good and positive and life-giving, do it whilst the opportunity is available. Because next week, next month, next year, whenever, you might need that karma to come back to you. That reaping of your blessing will come your way. My friend, I also want to suggest that it is the intention, it's the motivation of your good deed that results in the quality of the reaping that you reap when it comes time for you to receive your blessing. You see, so many people do good deeds from an arrogant point of view, from a boastful point of view. See, when the motive is selfish, my understanding and certainly my experience is that your blessing that you get back isn't necessarily that wonderful. There are normally conditions attached somewhere when it's your turn to reap the harvest. Because you see, the book gets written every day. Not necessarily the facts, but also the motivation and the intention behind what we do, what we say, and what we don't do, and what we don't say. So, my encouragement for you today is simply make sure that your heart motive is pure. That way, when it's time for you to reap your harvest, karma, the payback that you get back, comes from a pure motivation too. Because you see, the universe is fair. The law of karma is fair. God is fair. So, my experience is also this. You see, when I've seen people in the past who have gone about their thing with a negative intention, and when it's payback time, they get angry and upset and throw their dummy out of the cot because it's not what they expected. But that what you sow, you reap. At least that's the law. So be aware of your intentions, your motives when you do your good deed. Equally, when you do your, dare I say, evil deed. And it makes me wonder why there are so many unhappy, discontented and disgruntled people in the world. It makes me consider that the universe is paying them back. So whilst they might have been quite excited and happy about the chaos and disruption that they have caused people, and as I've many times said to other folks that I used to talk to a long while ago, when that sits on your dinner plate and it is your meal to eat, it might not be the most tasty meal out there because it's a bit better. And for that, at least I do my damnedest to make sure that whatever I do, whatever I say, comes from the purest of intentions that at least I can muster at that particular point in time. It's an encouragement. Because you see, we cannot escape the law of sowing and reaping. We cannot escape the law of karma. Give and take. We can't escape it because it's a law. I've said in other videos that when you sow, let's say, apple seeds, you plant your apple seeds, there is no ways on God's green earth that we could expect bananas to come up. Because we sown apple seed. And then when we get apples and it's not quite what you wanted, it depends on the seed, your intention, your motivation. It is important that we understand clearly the potential that we have in our words and in our deeds. But that comes from here. Who we are truly deep down inside. So what Rumi here is saying, that whatever you do, when you put that into a life-giving means to reach other people, it will come back when you yourself need it, because that is the boomerang of life. Karma, sowing and reaping. Name it which way you want. That is a law that has been put in place so we can effectively judge the outcome long before the outcome is experienced, because we judge it from our heart intention, our heart motivation. So we can, in many ways, we can predetermine how the universe is going to pay us back when we do what we do, because that's a law. We can predict our outcome. But as being aware of why we do things and why we don't do things. The same applies for when we speak. What we say, how we say it, the reasons why or why we don't. We can predict it in terms of how we will reap when we are in the desert, when that thing comes back to us. So my encouragement is, become acutely aware of the reasons why you do or don't say, do or don't do things. I know it's a bit of a mouthful, but become acutely aware of why you do what you do. I hope you found this video encouraging, because it's really important, especially in today's life where we are being bombarded with all manner of things. Social media, the media, peer groups, friends, the people down the street. We are consistently bombarded with a lot of stuff, and we have to make choices. Because the demands of life is such that we have to choose something. But be aware that that choice is like that seed. And when you put that in the river, it's going to come back in the desert. Rumi is very wise there. If you've enjoyed this video, do all the YouTube admin. You guys know what to do. Thumbs up, comments, hit the bell, pick all. Share, subscribe, tell all your friends, tell all your family, please. But for now, this is Mark from Kharischangeworks. I'll speak to you soon.